Hello, everybody. This is the new Paul Ewan. Today we're going to cover the Steelers' Week 18 as they play the Baltimore Ravens in a rivalry game which should be fierce and physical. But might be one catch, and I meant non-literally. There is a possibility that Lamar Jackson may not start in the game. He might be his backup. Tyler Huntley might replace him. Now Huntley has been good. He's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but Lamar Jackson, their edge is not going to be there. And I think with how Mason Rudolph has rebounded greatly later on in the season, I think that and also it comes down to playoff spot too, because Lamar's out, I'd say the Steelers' playoff chances just went right up, because not only if they have a better chance of beating the Ravens, but they also have a better chance they could pull off an upset of the number one seed in the AFC, because the Ravens, as you know, clinched it this weekend when they trounced the Dolphins 56-19. But the question is, could that have been Lamar's last game this season? Not counting the playoffs, but could it be his last game of the regular season? That's the question. Now, normally in the last game of the season, usually most teams start their backups. Personally, I think that it's a great thing to do, but hey, when you're the Steelers, with Pickett, I'd suggest not starting Pickett, because Mason Rudolph has proven that spell of disrespect he gets, he's came back with a vengeance, and I just think that he might. I'm trying to think here. He could possibly have his best year yet, and essentially, if they don't keep, which I'm hoping they don't keep Trubisky, but that's my opinion. Let me know in the comments what you think, but I think that without Trubisky, Rudolph could be the top starter, and I know Kenny Pickett had his moments this season, but the Steelers have a lot of potential. I mean, it seems every year they're winning season every year, but they most times tend to drop the ball when it comes to the reason why they don't make the playoffs when they have big winning seasons is because they lose those early games to their divisional opponents. Like, let's say they dropped one to Cleveland. That was probably their worst loss, because that game had a lot of playoff implications, and the Steelers just didn't come to play against Cleveland. They just didn't come to play that game. However, with the Steelers actually sweeping the Bengals and Ravens, they could potentially have a tiebreaker with the Bengals, because the Bengals are also in contention for the playoffs. And that's going to be a crazy playoff sequence for the AFC North, because you're going to have, so basically, two of the four teams there are three teams that are, as a matter of fact, you got three teams that are, Steelers are still in the hunt, but they're, in my opinion, hunting down a playoff spot, and with Rudolph standing as quarterback, they could possibly reach that potential. So I'd say that as of right now, you got the Bengals are in the wild card. No, actually the Browns are. So it's the Bengals and the Steelers that are still in the hunt, but the Browns are the leader. The Ravens are leaders of the AFC North, which means that the Ravens have an advantage over everyone, because they've beaten mostly everyone they could beat, except the Steelers, which they did lose that game. But I still think the Ravens and the Steelers will be a pretty good game regardless of who starts, because it's always going to be, it's had a history of being physical. Crowd's going to be loud. Terrible towels going to be swirling in not in Baltimore, heavens no. But the Steelers fans show up everywhere, it seems like this year. They've shown up to Las Vegas, almost everywhere there is. And I think that if the Steelers can match that the Baltimore crowd is rugging me ruckus. I'm telling you, they could have their first. I mean, they had a tremendous year in 2019. They had a tremendous year, but still, it's like their crowd's gonna be passionate, man. It's gonna be a hard-nosed battle, and the Steelers are. I mean, in the past, the Steelers have come in there, and I mean, it's had a lot of great moments. I mean, talk about players that play them are like James Harrison, Ben Roethlisberger, Joe Flacco, Ray Lewis, all the greats that played in this game. It's physical, it's mean, it's fierce, but in the end, somebody's got to win, because in football there has to be a winner. Or there could be a tie, which I hope not, because Steelers cannot afford a tie right now. They cannot afford a tie. They cannot afford it. The last time they got so far, they've had 2 ties in the past 6 years. One of which was to the Browns in 2018, which quintessentially, at the end of the year, the Ravens ended up beating the Browns to win the AFC North, and the Steelers were kicked out of the playoffs. So ties have had a big impact on how the Steelers season shapes out, because granted the Lions and the Steelers tied in 2021, but that game, unfortunately, they got trounced by the Chiefs that year in the wild card. But this is basically a moment of truth for the Steelers. Like, if they make the playoffs, can they survive? Because there are a lot of hungry teams in that playoff picture. There are a lot of hungry teams in there. Even if they get the Super Bowl, there are a lot of hungry teams in the NFC too, like the Rams, who I think you snuck in barely. And also you got, on our side, you got the Chiefs, who despite struggling, they're still a strong team with Mahomes and Kelsey. They're still strong. And also who knows, Dolphins they're like a juggernaut right now. They made the playoffs last season. Now they're clinched a second straight. So there are a lot of teams that the Steelers are going to have to watch out for in the playoffs, because they have already, as a matter of fact, most teams in the playoff picture right now, some of the Steelers have played, like they played the Jaguars, they played the Browns, the Ravens, the Bengals. So it's been a shaky season, but hey, don't get me wrong, the Steelers they've had their wins and they've had their losses, so if they can win this one and they make the playoffs, I would predict that they should start Rudolph, because he's proven that despite all the disrespect he gets, that he can play in big time environments, because the Steelers are, man, with Pickett, they had trouble in the season. I mean, in my opinion, to be honest, sure, he did. I mean, I always go back to the getting throttled by the 49ers in week 1. I always go back to that one as it's kind of the reason why it's kind of like a struggle for like the Steelers, like losing games like big teams. Like, I mean, true, they beat the Ravens. They also lost to the Jaguars, the Texans. It's like they've had trouble beating the good teams that are, and some are bad teams that they lose to. So I'd say the Steelers need to make it count in Week 18, because if they don't, pretty much kiss the playoffs goodbye. All right, everybody. Time to wrap it up. So, conclusion, I picked the Steelers to beat the Ravens this week. I predict it. They're going to go 10-7. Hopefully make the playoffs. I'm not going to say they will, but hopefully. Because there are things that have to happen. And in the NFL, when it comes to late season games, that the playoff scenarios don't always play out the way you want to, because teams have to win out. They have to win big games. Some teams, against all odds, have to occasionally beat teams that have a better record than they do. So The Steelers might be in this category of upsetting the number 1 seed in the AFC. That may be a significant victory in their season. This would be their signature win if they beat the Ravens twice. That would be a signature win right there. Well, tell me what you think in the comments, and like and subscribe. And as I always say, here we go, Steelers.